This is a video about things. Things. I know there are some of you who are going to object to this video because things really aren't important to you at all. You really don't care about things at all. I can understand that. I can respect that. I understand why you would object. But we really need to take a little bit of time out of our busy days, which are busy because of things, if you think about it. We need to take some time out of our busy days to talk about things. Things. Why? Why things? Why are we talking about things? Aren't humans more important than things? Why should we take even 1 second to talk about things? Do we really need things? Do we really want things? Well, you need things to live, don't you? You need food, water, air, maybe some gravity and the earth to stand on. And sun. You need the sun and the sunlight, obviously, because you need vitamin D, right? You need things just to live. But only the most basic things, right? So we're only concerned about those things. We're only concerned about food and water and air. We're not concerned about the other things. We're not concerned about any other things other than food, water, and air, because that's what we need to live, right? Well, there may be some more things you need. Like, for example, you may need a house or a building to surround your body to live in so that you don't freeze to death in the wintertime. So there may be more things that you need than just food, water, and air. Another thing you might need like a plate to eat off of. I mean, you may eat with your fingers depending on your nationality or origin, but you have to have a plate, right? Yeah, you can't eat food off the ground in midair or off your hand. You really need a plate. And also, if you're going to drink water, you need a cup to drink with, right? So those are some more things. Plate, cup, house. Those things should be obvious. What about a place to sleep? Yeah, you need a place to sleep. You need a bed, right? You don't have to have a bed. I mean, you could sleep in a pile of leaves, I suppose. But even the pile of leaves is a thing, right? Even the pile of leaves is a thing. Cushion your back so you don't hurt while you're sleeping. So we do need some things. And I didn't even need to tell you that because that should be the obvious. But some of you have a knee-jerk reaction and immediately respond to things or the mention of things with hostility. And I'll get to that in a little while. I'll get to that. But let's talk for a little while about things. Just things. Not people, but things. Let's talk about pretty things. Pretty things. There's pretty houses. There's pretty roads. There's pretty streets. There's pretty sidewalks. Pretty manicured lawns. Pretty home goods. Pretty objects. Pretty cars. There's pretty storefronts. Pretty businesses. Pretty skyscrapers in our in our nation cities. So there's an awful lot pretty, good-looking things on this earth. There's a lot of pretty things. You know, people are attracted to pretty things. People want pretty things. Now let's talk for a second about ugly things. Ugly things. There's burnt out buildings, shattered glass, boarded up windows, and the plywood is sprayed with graffiti. There's graffiti sprayed on the sides of buildings and sprayed everywhere, even on park benches and on electric meters. There's cracked sidewalks that are raised by roots. There's potholes and broken down streets. And there's broken toys and broken objects. And there haven't been any skyscrapers falling down, but there's broken storefronts, shattered glass, more boarded up windows, burnt out shells of buildings, even high rises. There's an awful lot of ugly things. There's even crack houses. Crack houses everywhere. Ugly things. But do we care? Does it affect us? Do we even care about ugly things? Does it affect us? Does it hurt us personally? Do you live where there's some ugly things? Well, do you? Do you live near some ugly things? Are ugly things within a few miles of you? Where you could go and look at the ugly things if you really wanted to. Do you see pretty things every day? Do you live around pretty things? Are there pretty things within a few miles of you that you could go out there and look at the pretty things? These are all questions which may be totally irrelevant to you, that totally not matter to you at all. But they make a big difference. And they may even make a difference in my videos. They may make a difference with Biden and Trump. They may make a difference with practically everyone. These are important questions. They really are important questions. They may not seem important to you, but they are very vitally important questions. Now let's talk a little bit about religion. Christianity and also possibly Judaism and also Islam teach that there is a heaven and that there is a better world beyond this one. This world is irrelevant. This world doesn't matter. This world is irrelevant. It doesn't matter. This world we're in now. Because there's a better world waiting for us after we die. After we get out there into the universe, it's a much, much better world. Heaven is everything you could ever possibly want or need or ever desire. And it's so much better there. And Earth is a place to be left behind. And when you get to heaven, everything's perfect, right? And so, Earth is just a temporary home. And basically, Earth, because it's a temporary home, it's supposed to be ignored. We're supposed to not care about things. We're supposed to ignore things. Things are of the flesh and of the physical material realm, not of the spirit. Not of the spirit. So we are supposed to ignore and revile and not care at all about things according to these three religions. And it's not just them, it's Hinduism too. Hinduism teaches that this is the physical material realm and that it's a snare for the senses. It's a snare for the five senses and whatever other senses we may have. And the snare for the senses and a prison for the material. For the prison for the spirit. Prison for things of the spirit and prison for spirits. Was created by Brahma. Not Brahman, Brahma. Brahma, Brahma, he didn't care. He didn't care and he thought it was a good idea. He didn't care and he thought it was a good idea to ensnare, to create the physical realm, and then the spirits became entangled and encased in flesh and part of the physical realm, and then they couldn't get out. They couldn't escape. The whole idea of moksha and liberation is liberating the spirit from the physical realm forever. So we're to be liberated from this physical realm according to Hinduism. What do Buddhists believe about things? Well, Buddhists want liberation too. They want liberation from the physical realm, but they have more of a open-minded or broad viewpoint toward things. They believe that things have a life of their own. Things have spirit in them, and that things also have karma. Yeah, ordinary things have karma. And for example, I know that they were just contemplating their begging bowls, because there's really no other object that they feel they want or need other than their begging bowls. That's all they need is a begging bowl. But they were contemplating their begging bowls. And in case you don't know what a begging bowl is, it's something that a Buddhist monk uses. Buddhist monk who's on the spiritual path uses a begging bowl to eat. So this begging bowl, they were contemplating that if it gets broken, if you fall or drop it or trip on it, and it's usually made of wood, but if it gets cracked along the grain and gets broken, the bowl is very sad. The bowl is sad, and it's sorry, and it feels bad that it never got to fulfill its true karma. The things, according to Buddhists, are here to serve us. They're here to serve us, and they're here for us to use. And if they don't get to serve us, and we never use them, if we just set them on a shelf and never use them, or if they don't get to be used, then the things are very sad. They're very sad. Now, why do I mention these big 5 religions and their views toward things? Well, it's pretty important, right? These are the people that make up our world. Our whole world is full of these 5 religions. People of these 5 religions. What do Native Americans believe? Well, they have religious objects now. Unfortunately, religious anthropologists and religious historians call them fetishes, which is a terrible word. I hate that word. But there's these little objects. That's an English word, by the way. There's these little objects that are artifacts or spiritual, religious artifacts, and they use them. They have things as big as totems and have things as small as medicine pouches. Medicine pouches that are full of certain herbs and maybe bones and feathers and certain things that have magical qualities or spiritual qualities. So there's lots of things. And of course, Wiccans need things. They need their altar. They need their altar cloth. They need candles. They need candle holders. They need bowls for pouring water and burning incense, and they need incense holders and incense, and they need all sorts of things, these Wiccans. And they use things in their spells. They use things for their magical spells, so these things have religious significance for them too. So, it's lots of things. And for every person on Earth, there's millions of things. We actually have trillions of things on Earth. We have more things than there are animals or people combined. We have so many things. And they're just objects. They're not alive. They can't be really even defined by biologists as a form of life. They're just things. But why? Why are these things important? Right, now let's talk a little while about African Americans. How do African Americans feel about things? And as a white person, should I even be asking this question? Should I even be asking this question about how African Americans feel about things? If you're an African American, please leave a comment. Please leave a comment about your thoughts and feelings about things, what your religion teaches, what you personally believe, how you feel about it personally, how you feel about things. Now, African Americans, as far as I can gather, because you know how weak-witted I am. You know I'm weak-witted. You've watched my videos, you've seen me struggle with words. You know I'm kind of slow, kind of weak-witted person. As far as my weak wits can gather, African Americans, as far as their viewpoints, are all over the place. They're all over the map. And some of them care very much about things. Some of them like bling bling, and they like fancy cars. They like nice houses. They like big swimming pools. They like nice roads. They like nice trees and manicured lawns. They want the good life. They really do. They really want the good life. And others, they would rather be surrounded by their own neighborhoods, and they would rather see urban blight around them. They would rather see, well, maybe not crack houses. They don't want to see crack houses, but they want to see an urban jungle. They want to see high rises, and they want to see graffiti with a frame around it. You know, they don't want to see graffiti maybe on a spray painted on a, or they might want to see graffiti spray painted on a boarded up window, but they do want to see graffiti framed, like with a frame around it, like a piece of art. And they want to see, they want to see rundown houses that, with shingles falling off and doors hanging off their hinges. They want to see weeds, lawns full of weeds. They want to see cracked sidewalks and that bump that they go over. They go over every day that they walk down the street. They want to see these things. Why do they want to see these things? Well, for one thing, they're familiar with them. And when you're familiar with something, you begin to maybe to like it and have a certain amount of nostalgia for it, and just decide that that's better. There's another reason they might like these things. If they can't afford ever, if they can't afford ever to live in a nice neighborhood, and by nice neighborhood, what I'm talking about is a pretty neighborhood with manicured lawns and all the rest, and nice houses. They can't afford to live there, then there's a place, a time and a place for these rundown neighborhoods. There's a time and a place for urban blight, because urban blight lowers property values enough that anyone can afford to live there. Anyone can move in. And so if they can afford to live there comfortably with their families, then why not have urban blight? More power to the urban blight. More power to it, because no one wants to live there. White people certainly don't want to live there, so now they have a nice, cheap place to live. And so we need to maintain the urban blight so that African Americans will have a nice place to live. Now think about this. Why should that even be so? Why should that be so? Why should African Americans not be able to afford the good life? Why should that be? Is it true that the only path out of poverty is to become a basketball player or a rap artist? You kidding me? Or maybe a pop singer. Pop is also popular. And some of those singers, they team up with rap artists anyway, so it's a duo. Is that the only path out of poverty for an African American? And there's so few that get to follow that path. It's like hitting the lottery, right? Just like maybe a few thousand people. A few thousand people get to be the basketball players, the football players, the golfers, and also rap artists and pop singers. And that's it. And the other millions live with urban blight. Now, I think you're going to say 100% that I suspect that you're going to say 100% that African Americans care about urban blight and that they really all do want the good life. And that's probably true. That's probably closer to the truth. But who knows? Who knows? We don't know. We know that white people want the good life. White people most definitely want the good life. Poor whites think about the good life every day, and they feel like they've let their families down and let their community down. And poor whites feel like, and I can talk about this because I'm a poor white, they feel like they've let their families and their community down. They would really like to raise themselves up, and they would really like to achieve. They feel pressure. They feel pressure to achieve, to be like the rich whites. They feel pressure, a lot of peer pressure, a lot of pressure from rich whites to achieve the same level, to live the good life themselves. So America, we know that America is materialistic. We know that we've always been about capitalism and about achieving, getting money, and about the good life. We've always been about that. There's never been a time when we weren't about the good life. And you may say, well, this is a terrible thing. This is a bad thing. This is an awful thing. Because your religion you grew up in, because from the time you were an infant, when you weren't cognizant or capable of making decisions for yourself, you were taught that things are not spiritual. Things are not spiritual. We should revile things. Things are a snare for the senses, and they're not of the spirit, and that we need to leave these things behind. We need to leave the earth behind and live the good life in heaven. And that's the real good life, is heaven, or the great beyond, or moksha, or whatever, what have you. anything other than this earth. And there may be a reason for this, because people fight over things. People fight for things. People fight for food. People fight for water. People fight for land. People fight for air. People also fight for objects, for shiny cars, for houses, for packages. They steal packages off people's porches, front porches. There's people competing for things. There's people fighting over things. That's not good. We don't want people fighting. So maybe we should take things away. Maybe if we took things away, people would stop fighting, right? How can you take things away when they're everywhere, all over the place? And then if there were communism, things would get broken down, and then people wouldn't want things anymore, because things would be so broken down everywhere. People would stop desiring things. Wouldn't that be a great day? When people stop desiring things and only care about other people then, right? They don't care about people at all. This is the part I'm going to get to, okay? What does science say about things? What do you think science would say about things? Science would say, yeah, we need things. We need things, and we can't even deny that we need things. Things have a proven psychological effect on the mind. They have a proven psychological effect on the mind. You say all you should need is people. All you should care about is people. You shouldn't care about anything other than people. And also creator or deity. We shouldn't care about things. Think about it. Goddess put us here on this earth with all of these things. She did. She put us here on earth with a whole lot of things. So many things. Trillions of things. Why? Why would she do this? Why would she put us on earth all these things? Is it because she's evil? Because she wants us to be unspiritual? Why would she put us on earth with all of these things? Well, maybe, just maybe, things play a part or play a role in reforming us. Because our original corruption began when we were in a realm without things. Corruption began without things. Began when all we had to play with or to do with our time was play with each other, right? Just free spirits playing with each other. That's when our corruption began. So maybe things play a role in our rehabilitation. And so things may be actually incredibly important to Goddess and to us. More important than we realize, more important than we know. When we're encased in physical reality, we learn a few things immediately. We learn that we have physical limits. Even our bodies are like things. We have physical limitations. Certain things we can and can't do. We have to eat every day, which we don't like, maybe. Or maybe we do enjoy it. We have to drink water. We have to make sure we always have a supply of water. So we have to work hard. We have to work hard to get food and to get water. We don't have to work hard for air, but we wouldn't live 5 seconds without air. See how that works? Creator was kind of nice. She didn't make us work hard for air, but she made it free, but it's still something we need. It's still something we need. And anything we need within 5 seconds we have. Otherwise life couldn't exist. It couldn't survive for long. So things are arranged nicely for us so that we can live long lives. And so, sorry about this. My eye is dripping today. Probably my allergies again. So these things, we need these things. And things aren't necessarily unspiritual. Because we are not ensnared by things. Okay? Most of our problems that human beings have aren't problems with things at all. They're problems with each other. It's not things that cause our problems. We don't like each other's personalities. We don't like each other's thoughts and feelings. Let's face it, we just can't stand each other. We can't stand each other. I know there's those of you viewers out there who watch me, you can't even stand me. You can't even stand me or my viewpoints. Things that I say drive you up the wall, drive you bonkers, and you just can't stand me. I understand that. I always try to tell it like it is and tell the truth. Maybe that's not the best policy. Maybe honesty isn't the best policy, but I always try to tell the truth. So things are important. And I'll tell you something. Guys like Kanye West, Jay-Z, 50 Cent, they're going conservative. Why would they go conservative? Why? Why are they doing this? Big part of the reason may be things. Oh yeah, things may be part of the reason they've gone conservative. Why? Because conservatives get it. Conservatives get that things are important to people. That at least while we're living here on Earth, we can't avoid things. We can't deny things. We can't cover our eyes and pretend things don't exist and that we just don't care. We can't pretend we just don't care about things, or that our Creator didn't put things here on this earth for us. We can't pretend that. We can't pretend that. We can't ignore things while we're a steward of things. We can't ignore things while we're a steward of things. We can't ignore things while we own things. We can't ignore things while we're living on this earth. We have to pay attention to things. Conservatives get that. You may not respect them and you may not agree, but they get it. Okay? And what is it that Kanye West and Jay-Z and 50 Cent have perceived? Well, what they've perceived is that things are incredibly important to African Americans, to their communities, to their people. And it's not just about rap or about talking about bling or the good life. It's not about that. What it's about is living with urban blight that makes people wish every single day for the good life. Makes people think every single day, every day, about manicured lawns, about fancy cars, about big, well-maintained houses, about swimming pools, about a nice job, about lots of money in the bank. Makes people think about it every day. They can't help it, even if they're dyed-in-the-wool, hardened communists, who riot and smash windows and spray graffiti and loot. Yeah, people who loot think about the good life too because they want things, right? They're not just doing it just to hurt somebody, just to hurt a business owner. They're doing it because they desire those things very much. And they want the money from those things. And they may also be opportunists. these hardened communists think about things. They just need a little bit of education. Now, education didn't help Ocasio-Cortez at all. Ocasio-Cortez majored in economics. She still became a communist. What's the deal there? She's not dumb. She got her degree. Why would she feel communism was superior after getting her degree in economics? She fails. She gets a big F. She flunks economics. Because economics teaches us that communism doesn't work. It really doesn't. It doesn't work. It doesn't work financially or economically. It doesn't work with our economic system. But I digress. I'm not here to attack Ocasio-Cortez. A lot of people don't like her. A lot of people dislike her a lot. But back to things. Jay-Z and Kanye and 50 Cent, they get it. They get it. These are not dumb guys. These are really smart, really sharp cookies. They're really smart guys, and they get it. Okay. Basically, for the past, 50 plus years. Okay. Since the 1950s, so 70 years. For 70 long years, people have been all aflutter. Both Republicans and Democrats have been aflutter about things. They've been concerned about urban blight. Been concerned about urban blight. Been really concerned about people. They've been concerned about the best way to end urban blight. Because I'll tell you something right now. Urban blight kills. Which is the whole point of this video. You may have figured this out by now. Urban blight kills. How does urban blight kill? How can it kill people? Well, you know that a gun can kill people. A gun is a object, and when it's working well, and when it's not broken, and when it's a nice gun, kills people. But that's not the problem. The thing that really kills people is urban blight. How can urban blight be more dangerous than a gun? Because when people are thinking every single day about the good life, they're thinking, I don't have it. I don't have it. I don't have the good life. When they walk past, and I've seen all of this. I've seen the drug drops with the graffiti sprayed, a little circle sprayed to show where the drug drop is, where to pick up the drugs. I've seen the boarded up houses. I've seen the crack houses. I've seen African American man doing St. Vitus's dance on the sidewalk because he's in withdrawal from cocaine, from crack cocaine. Because that's what crack does. I've seen it all, and seen the broken sidewalks. I've tripped over them myself, seen the broken down, and I've seen the big houses and the fancy houses too, and I've seen the nice neighborhoods. I've seen it all. I've seen it all in my life. And I've been in all sorts of neighborhoods. I've been in fancy, nice neighborhoods. I've seen the big houses, and I haven't lived there myself, but I've been through those neighborhoods, seen the neighborhoods. Maybe you have too. Maybe you've seen the difference between these neighborhoods. When African Americans live with urban blight every single day, they're thinking about this. They're thinking about it every day because they see it every day. They're thinking, people here in America, white people specifically, they just don't care about me. They don't care about me. They don't love me. They hate me. They hate me. They don't love me at all. They hate me. That's what they're thinking. And there's no creature here on earth that's more downtrodden than the African American man. Because African American women can get jobs anywhere. They can get jobs everywhere. They're all over the place. African American women. African American women are expected to be superwoman. Yeah, they're superwoman. They send their kids to day school, which is enabled apparently by the welfare state. They could get jobs anywhere, anytime they want to. So they work, send their kids to daycare if they're young enough. They're old enough, they send them to public school. They work every day. They come home, they cook, they clean, they take care of their kids. They attend to their kids, they feed them, they put a roof over their head, they tuck them in at night. And they have time to text and get their nails done and their hair done. And so they are superwoman. They are superwoman. What are African American men doing? African American men are, I don't know. I don't know what African American men are doing. I really don't know. They can't get jobs. That's the problem. They can't get jobs. A lot of them can't get jobs. Not all, but there's a lot. Maybe 30% can't get jobs or something like that. It's a high unemployment rate for African American men. It's always been higher than for white men. So there's quite a few African American men who can't get jobs and aren't working. So what do? A lot of them stay home and take care of babies. But there's a few, maybe a very small handful, maybe 1 in 100, who join gangs, sell drugs, shoot at each other, kill people. They kill people. And fighting on the streets. There's fights over money, over things. And the reason is because they live with urban blight every day. Every single day they see this urban blight. Every single day they're thinking. How do I get a job? How do I get money? How do I get to the good life? How do I get my family out of this? How do I create a better future for my children? They're thinking the only thing I can do as an African American man is sell drugs. That's it. That's all I can do for money. And also, some of them maybe fix cars for a living, but or steal cars. They can carjack and fix a car up and resell it to a used car dealership, or maybe sell it on Carfax. There's certain things they can do for money. They can steal, or they can rob, or they can sell drugs. Yeah, it's true. There's things they can do for money that are totally illegal. And some of them feel really hopeless and feel like nothing ever changes, nothing ever works out for them, and this is the only way they can make money. There's a lot of people living like this. There's a lot. And we've seen the urban blight. We've seen these neighborhoods. We know that there's lots of people living there. We know that there's people living in these places of urban blight. We know it. You see this every single day. This urban blight. You think, I am unwanted. I am unloved. I am hated. I can't get a job because I'm hated. My neighborhood is broken down because I can't afford to fix it. Can't afford to fix my neighborhood. I have no money. Never will have any money. And then every single day you see this urban blight and you think, that is so ugly. That is the ugliest damn thing I've ever seen. And I'm living here because of white folk. Yeah, I'm living here because of white folk because I can't get a job. And I can't get money. I'm living here because white people put me here because of redlining. But redlining, that's illegal now. Reason I'm still living here is because I can't afford to live anywhere else and I can't get a job. And white people won't hire me. And then see it every day. Every single day for years and years and years. They see this urban blight. They see the good life on TV, and sometimes they can even take the bus out to a nice neighborhood and see it, and they think white people are keeping all the money to themselves, keeping us poor. And then after they've seen it for 20, 30, 40 years, they think, you know what? F this. I'm going to go shoot somebody. because it affects the mind. Seeing ugly things makes you sad, makes you hurt inside, makes you hurt, makes you unhappy, makes you angry. It's like hearing bad words. It's like hearing bad words makes you angry and it makes you unhappy. Not everyone is affected. There's some people who walk around and they have a halo over their heads and they just aren't affected at all by any sort of urban blight. It just doesn't affect them at all. It doesn't make them sad. It doesn't make them angry. It doesn't affect their minds at all. And there's no group of people more devout than African Americans as far as Christianity goes. They really believe that this is a temporary world on their way to something better. And because they believe that, they're not as affected by the urban blight. But there are people who are affected by urban blight and are affected by it every day. So there's all kinds. It takes all kinds to make a world. And they're affected by the urban blight. So when you're reminded every single day that you're unloved and unwelcome and that you're being segregated, and some people like their neighborhoods. They would prefer to live with African Americans. They'd prefer to live with black people and other black people. I'm talking about African Americans. They prefer to live in their neighborhoods, their city. It's their neighborhood, and they love it, and they wouldn't want it to change at all. What happened recently was there were a bunch of white kids from the suburbs that all got together, almost like a bunch of racists, just like a bunch of racists, and they were racists. Even the liberals were racist, and they were all liberals. All of them were liberals, except for a few, like maybe 3 or 4. They were all liberals, and they got together, and they were racists. They went into the city and destroyed African American people's neighborhoods, created more urban blight. Now it looks bad, and now African Americans have to see it every single day. The white kids went back to their neighborhoods and live in a nice manicured neighborhood with manicured lawns. They live somewhere nice now, and now the urban jungle, which looked pretty nice for an urban jungle, now looks like hell on earth. And it's because of these white kids that are supposedly liberals, but they're really racists. And they don't care about things because they get to see a nice neighborhood every day, and it doesn't affect them at all. It doesn't affect them at all. But they're not going to want to go back to those neighborhoods now that they've wrecked them. They spoiled someone else's nest. They soiled someone else's nest. And now they don't want to return to that nest because they know there's going to be crime. Why is there going to be crime? Because it looks ugly. Customers go away when they see ugly things. Okay, customers don't go to an ugly business. Customers go away when they see ugly things. They want a nice experience and they want nice things. So customers go away. Then there's no jobs. Then when there's no jobs, there's crime. When people see ugly things every single day, when they see urban blight, they commit crimes because they're psychologically affected every single day, remember? So there's more crime. It's people robbing each other. At first it's just robbery. People stop going to that neighborhood because of the robberies. Then, when there's robberies and there's no one left to rob because no one has any money on the street, then the dealing of drugs begins. The drug houses spring up. The crack houses spring up. Then there's people committing arson to get rid of the crack houses. And then it's a mess. It's a total mess. It makes a mess of the whole neighborhood. It all started with these white kids going in and wrecking an African-American person's neighborhood. And it doesn't affect them at all. It doesn't affect their neighborhood at all. It doesn't affect them personally. And there were African-Americans who participated too. There were some African-Americans out there, and they maybe died in the wool communists. They may be communists and Christians, and they revile things completely. Because they feel, okay, humans are more important than things. Therefore, we shouldn't care about things. Therefore, we should destroy things for the sake of people. They've got it backwards because people need things. And they don't see this. They don't see it at all. They don't see it, and they don't agree with it. And they never will agree with it, that people need things. So they don't care about things. So it's okay to destroy things because people's lives are more important than things, so they reason. They don't get that urban blight kills. And when you create urban blight, you're actually killing people. You're killing people. There's people who are going to die because of what you did. There's people who are going to die today, tomorrow, the next day. And they all already are. The crime rate has tripled. Crime rate has tripled in Minneapolis after the urban blight. Why has it tripled? Because people are immediately affected. They're immediately affected by being surrounded by urban blight, and by things affect their minds, have a strong psychological effect. Was just bound to occur because it's been going on for a while now, the urban blight. You just made it like 10 times worse, or maybe 100 times worse. But the urban blight's been going on for a while. People's minds have been affected for a while. People have been thinking about how they've been hated for a while now. And when people feel hated, they're maybe even driven to kill. So we need to think about this. We need to think about this. What about white people? Are white people affected by things? Sure we are. There's people out there who drive through African American neighborhoods. They do it all the time. And it's mostly poor whites, and they see all this urban blight. See this urban blight, and it affects their opinion of the people that live in that neighborhood. Okay? It does. It really does. It makes them think. I'm not even going to say it because you'll just get too upset if I repeat what a racist would think. It would upset you, and I won't say it. But they look down on people and think of them as if they were animals because of the urban blight. They think they didn't take good care of their neighborhoods. And what they do then is they put their knee on George Floyd's neck. Oh yeah, racists will kill because they've seen urban blight. So urban blight affects everyone. It kills people. Killed George Floyd. Killed Breonna Taylor. Killed all the people who died recently in Minneapolis because of urban blight, that black people were killing other black people. And you may say, well, no, they were killing because of George Floyd. George Floyd was just the icing on the cake, right? Just some brother had died because of police brutality, and that was just something that happened out of the blue with nothing else before or after it. If it had been an isolated incident, no one would have reacted really, right? They would have said, that's sad, that's bad, that made them mad, but they wouldn't have killed anyone. George Floyd's death had to be the icing on the cake. There had to be a prelude to George Floyd's death that lasted for hundreds of years. And if it wasn't for that prelude, nobody would have rioted. Nobody would have gotten upset. People wouldn't have been fighting in the streets with guns. People wouldn't have gotten angry. There wouldn't have been any deaths. There wouldn't be any more urban blight. And there wouldn't be people killing each other now and the crime rate tripling. The murder rate tripling. That wouldn't have happened if it hadn't been a prelude. If there hadn't been a prelude. That prelude, you ready for this? That prelude was urban blight. It's true. That prelude was urban blight. Was an ugly, ugly, bad to look at, shitty, rundown neighborhood. And you may say, well, don't say that about my neighborhood. I love that neighborhood. I live there. That's my neighborhood. How can you say that about my neighborhood? Because it killed people. And you keep denying it. Keep covering your eyes. Pretending that you don't see. Saying, this neighborhood is great. I'm glad because I have a cheap place to live. I love this neighborhood. And it's my neighborhood. And it's a black neighborhood. And butt out, and you shouldn't care. But it's killing people. It's killing people. There's people dying every day, and there's people who feel bad. What about the quality of life? Have you even thought about that? Have you thought about the quality of life for people living in a rundown neighborhood, a rundown, neglected, urban blight-stricken neighborhood? Have you thought about the quality of life? Have you thought about kids picking heroin needles up off the ground, getting pricked and catching AIDS? If you thought about this, if you thought about kids walking barefoot and on broken glass and getting cut and getting tetanus, or a nail gets stuck in their foot, or they eat lead chips falling off a building, or bad things can happen to a kid. And urban blight, and it's ugly to look at, and it affects the mind. When you see ugly things, it makes your mind disordered, and it makes you think ugly thoughts and have ugly feelings. At least most people. Maybe not communists are unaffected, but it affects most people. And most people, even communists, are motivated by the presence of urban blight to try to make things better. When they talk about making things better, they're talking about ending the urban blight that they see. They want to end the urban blight. Communism's not the way to do it, but they think it is. They think it is, and so it motivates them. Everyone is motivated by this urban blight. Like I said, the Democrats and the Republicans have been frantic trying to prevent the urban blight any way they can think of, and they can't. Government only has a limited role in controlling urban blight. They can't. They can do neighborhood beautification projects. It's been going on for a while, neighborhood beautification projects, and that's real good. But it's going to take a lot more than a neighborhood beautification project to solve the problem of urban blight. It's going to take a lot of money. It's going to take people wanting and desiring that land. It's going to take a lot of tearing down and work. And it's going to take a lot of money and work to tear down the old buildings, to recycle the bricks, to make new buildings, to salvage what lumber we can, and send the rest of that garbage to a landfill. It's going to take time to sweep. It's going to take a lot of money, a lot of labor, and a lot of time to clean up our cities, if we even want to. Maybe we don't want to. Maybe we like for people to have cheap places to live and we want to keep it that way. So we have to really think about this really hard. Think about what we want to do. We want to clean up the neighborhoods, give people nicer places to live. They were building some low-income housing. Some arsonist during the riots burned it to the ground. 128 units, 128 families, maybe of 2 to 4 people each, will have no place to live now, no place to go. That's ugly. That's an ugly thing you rioters did. Aren't you ashamed of yourselves, and aren't you sad what you did? Or you're thinking, oh, I created a really run-down neighborhood. Now there's going to be more places for poor people to live. I created a new neighborhood. But, the people that were living there already, and there were a lot of people living there already, they're not going to be happy. They're going to live with urban blight every day. They're going to feel hated and unwanted and unloved. Some of them will commit murder. Some of them will deal drugs. Some of them will commit robberies. And the rest will just suffer horribly looking at this urban blight. And a lot of them will move out. And they'll have nowhere to go except your neighborhood. And that's great. That's great that they can move, if they can move to your neighborhood, if they can afford. It's going to be a lot of people who can't afford to move. Even I can't afford to move. Moving is expensive. I can't afford to move. You can't afford to move. Nobody can really afford to move. Have to have $5,000 saved up plus rent for 6 months in order to move. So, yeah, it's not a good situation. It's not a good situation at all for those people. And you rioters, you did that. You did that, you're guilty. You made urban blight. And urban blight kills people. So you pretended you cared about the death of George Floyd, pretended you cared about Black lives, but you really didn't. You really didn't, because you want to defund the police. Police save Black lives every day. Now there's not enough there's not enough police officers to handle the murders in the Black neighborhoods or Black people dying. So you wanted to defund the police. You wanted to take the police away. You wanted to create urban blight and wreck their neighborhoods. You basically wanted to create LA in Minneapolis. You wanted to create mass chaos. And the only reason that you could possibly be motivated to do that is pure hatred. But you pretend that you were motivated by pure love. Like BLM, they pretend they were motivated by pure love, even though they supported riots and rioting. Just like 1964 and the Detroit riots. It's something very similar. Rioting. And the LA riots. I can't remember what year that was. It was in the 90s. Maybe 92. So there's this riots, and rioting creates urban blight. And after that, there's a psychological cascade effect on the neighborhood, and pretty soon there's murders. Pretty soon there's killing, and there's a lot of people living the bad life. There's a lot of people living in poverty, abject poverty, and there's a lot of sad people. You've brought the African American community down a few notches with your riots and rioting, and your high, sky high communist idealism, and your ultra liberal viewpoints. You've brought African Americans down. You've brought African Americans down with these riots. You said, well, I was desperate. Couldn't think of any other way to get people's attention. Yeah, you got attention, but you got the wrong kind of attention. You made people hate. You made people hate liberals. You made people hate Democrats. You made people blame Democrats. And you made racists more racist. So there's going to be more George Floyd murders. And you also psychologically affected the inhabitants. So now there's going to be more poverty. An never-ending cycle of poverty and living in blighted neighborhoods and feeling bad and feeling sad and feeling mad, hurting inside and feeling hated, and more crime and more murder, and black people killing other black people. That's all on you. That's all on you, rioters. All of it is on you. So that's it. Just think about urban blight. Think about how it affects people's lives. Think about, like, you've seen it too. You've seen all of it. And yet, if you haven't seen it, if you're just a child and you're innocent and pure, and you were just born yesterday, and you thought a riot was a really great idea because your friends said so, take a look at urban blight. Go ahead and take a look at pictures of Minneapolis and the way people are living now. And there's pictures online. You can see pictures. Look at pictures of Detroit and see what happened to Detroit after 1964. So look at those pictures. Look at pictures of Detroit today. Think about white flight. How white flight can create urban blight. White people move out to the suburbs and leave their neighborhoods behind. And create a blighted landscape that's totally blighted. Not just urban blight, but actual, like a war zone, like hell on earth. Really think about how you would like to live there and how you would feel about living there. That's all I have to say on that subject. I think Kanye and Jay-Z and 50 Cent, I think they get it. I think they get it, and I think they want what's best for their fam, and for their brothers and sisters, and for their community. And if you're liberal, or if you even remotely care about African Americans, then maybe you should care about urban blight too.